let's go over our queen first. Hold on.
America's throwing away its good cards. China and Russia must be celebrating. They dreamed of breaking the Atlantic Alliance, and Trump is delivering that one on a platter to them. We're in the second Cold War. It will last several generations.
Is this imperialism or spectacle?
Of course it's imperialism when you're demanding other people's resources. There are two ways Russia could go down. One is if it's...
Is America about to die?
Whoa.
Was Europe ever in such a bad state as right now, having enemies on both sides?
Oh, God, yes. You think it was better in
Where?
World War II?
And when?
World War II, you think it was better? And you had none of the institutional structures. You had no tradition of Germans and French cooperating with each other, anyone doing much cooperation. And think about it. Oh, yeah, it's the great enterprise of European institution building. I'm not an expert on this, but it seems to me it's Benelux, which was formed in 1944. So Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg. They've been trying to form a trade union since the 19th century. Never gotten anywhere. They finally do it. And then there are a series of institutions that are created thereafter, some of them that go by unanimity, right? And other ones by majority vote. And they've developed so that now it's of all areas of human cooperation. There are various institutions where in a heartbeat, you can assemble people, important people from countries who have portfolios. I mean, government portfolios where they can act across Europe. And I get it, that it's slow, working with a lot of people, it's powerful. Dictators just double down on stupid decisions. It gets worse and worse and worse. But democracies have the ability to reassess. You send the party out of power that hasn't been delivering, you put a new one in. You've forgotten that you just turned the lights on now. When was the electrification of Europe completed? I know in the United States, a lot of it was after World War II. But we're a big country. I don't know how that works in Europe. It's smaller, so it's easier to electrify things. There's no TV available during the Napoleonic Wars. If people could actually have filmed what was going on there, I think it would be a lot of mayhem. And that might have been pretty awful. There must have been people who starved to death over armies coming in and just trashing everything.
Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss upcoming episodes with Sarah Paine.
Okay.
Is America about to die?
No, it's decline. It's like Russia's not going to disappear. Well, unless we all nuke each other, then we shall all disappear. And the rats and cockroaches shall inherit the earth.
Trump plays resource imperialism, you mentioned. Is this imperialism or spectacle?
Of course it's imperialism when you're demanding other people's resources. And it can be a reality TV show too, whatever. But it has strategic effects. What do you suppose everyone in Latin America is doing right now?
If isolationism isn't frank and Americans want to keep hard control over Europe, what doesn't that control look like in practice? Hypothetically.
You're talking about the United States trying to control empires? Like physically going to Venezuela? Oh, that'll work well. We did so well in Afghanistan. The Taliban is back, full circle.
Don't you think that it looks like Russia controlling Poland in 18th century?
It takes boots on the ground, and American soldiers and servicemen may decide that is not the place they want to go and die for. And why? Why? This is the whole problem. This is an incredibly, anachronistic way of looking at power in terms of the land you occupy. That's the continental thing. The way you make money is through compounded wealth, and that comes from industry, commerce, and trade. It does not. Look at Russia. It has all the resources in the world. It's poor, right? What is it? In 1980, I think Russia had 6 times the GDP of China. Now China has 9 times the GDP of what's left of Russia. I get it. Russia lost a lot of pieces, but it kept the richest part. It's a wealth-destroying model. It's profoundly. It's a pivotal error. Future generations will pay the price. America's throwing away its good cards. Who does that? China and Russia must be celebrating. They're going to hold a special party, watching the United States just tear up one good car after another after another.
Could Donald Trump destroy NATO?
Trump can destroy the United States part in NATO by just dumping it. But all of the organizing structures that Europeans have, that doesn't have to go away. It's just the big boy's having a tantrum and is currently not part of it. It'll make the United States profoundly weaker. And it's fascinating in a really horrifying sense to watch the Republican Party go along with this. The party that used to emphasize national security. The party, it makes no sense. They need to come to their senses to save their children and their grandchildren. Yeah, you make a pivotal error in this world. You've probably been to Greece and you see the Parthenon up there. The ancient Athenians started getting abusive to their allies. They overextended militarily. And then they had a very dysfunctional politics back home. And it was irretrievable for ancient Athens. They never recovered their preeminence. So go look at the Parthenon. It stands in mute testimony to hubris and the foolish things that people can do.
Well.
So Americans aren't any different in this if we keep playing our cards so unbelievably poorly and keep demonizing each other instead of working together on shared problems and hearing each other out, by the way.
What's happening right now in Venezuela?
How do I know? I'm not in Venezuela. I understand the big bad boys.
Wait, why is she so aggressive?
How do you look at
It's gunboat diplomacy. If you think about it, the United States used to do a lot of gunboat diplomacy.
Chill.
And back in the day, it was all about the Panama Canal, which was much more important before you got these mega container ships and where you can just sail things all around. Whereas before, it was really essential for the United States literally to get its Navy from the East Coast to the West Coast. And then it's been less essential. So there was a lot of gunboat diplomacy going on. Well, even the creation of the Panama Canal, right? It was taken away from Colombia and then it was invested and created. But then you have gunboat diplomacy where the United States is occupying, the Dominican Republic, Nicaragua for a number of years. You have Eisenhower who does regime change in Guatemala with Arbenz in 1954. So there's been all this tremendous U.S. involvement there. And you look at Central America and go, has the place improved? Okay, doing this doesn't seem to have gotten us anywhere too special. But then the United States quits under Roosevelt Roosevelt tries to do the good neighbor policy, and then, what is it? John F. Kennedy has something else.
Don't you think that if somebody did a Maduro move on Hitler in 1938, we wouldn't have had a Second World War?
It's absolutely correct. If the Western powers had not allowed Germany to remilitarize the Rhineland, that was step one, Germany would not have had the industrial resources to do step two. And in order for Germany to really work its magic, for Germany to do all this awful stuff, it requires the resources not only of the Rhineland, but Czechoslovakia, Poland, and then Romania has the oil. And without that, Hitler can't do all this. So this is the problem with allowing first steps that lead to other steps. But here was the negative for Hitler. I learned this anyway. That when he takes over all of Europe, he inherits the big energy deficit zone because Europe doesn't produce oil. And now all of a sudden, he's responsible for this territory. And where's he going to get the oil to even do sort of basic minimal civilian needs? Well, have fun with that one.
Does being a tyrant justify killing him?
You can look at history. If we're all going to be capping each other's leaders, that won't be the first one. It'll happen. Everybody will be doing it. And what is it? There's a wonderful movie that was done in the 70s, The Man for All Seasons, about Sir Thomas More. And his son-in-law is coming to him and saying, well, look, if you want to get the devil, we're going to tear down the legal system if you want to do that. And Sir Thomas says, yeah, and when you get rid of all the laws and the devil turns on you, what are you going to do? So it's a poor idea doing capping.
That is one thing Europe and Poland should not do.
What it should not do is act like all these problems are going to go away and sit there and just ignore national security issues. Because I'm thinking that, there's a really important thing, and this is for liberals, many of whom the last thing they would ever want to do is visit a war on someone else. Understand that you do not choose necessarily when wars begin. If it's a war of aggression and you're the aggressor, sure, you may decide. But ask Ukrainians whether they decided the day that war was going to begin. They most certainly did not. And so it is, the rules-based order is something you want to protect within castle walls. So as in the last Cold War, the castle walls held. It wasn't great. It was no good for Poland because you were in the wrong castle walls. But for those who were in the West, in the castle walls, they lived perfectly decent lives while funding very large military budgets, and they're going on great family trips while, as you would know, Phil Welby from Poland, Poles live far better than Russians, that they lived in a misery of their own making. So this is the importance. You better make sure the castle walls will hold, and then you will live wonderful lives where you're at. And think about it. Where does everyone want to travel? MAGA people included, when they want to travel abroad, if they've got some pocket change. To Europe. Why? Because it's beautiful. It's wonderful. The architectural heritage, everything. Convenience of travel, the works. So you have a wonderful place to live. Protect it, and you'll keep it, regardless of what idiocy goes on in Washington.
What can Europe do to break the United States-Russia wedge?
I don't think there is a U.S.-United States-Russia wedge. I mean, Putin loves it that the war in Ukraine he doesn't love. It's not going well. But they dreamed of breaking the Atlantic Alliance, and Trump is delivering that one on a platter to them. So, but I don't think Trump is doing this. You're worried about some strategic thing for Trump. Putin may be strategic, but Trump most certainly is not. He's doing it for whatever. He's a real estate mogul. He's like, I want this territory, this territory, this territory. And then at the tactical level, if we're in the room together, he wants to dominate whoever's in the room, right? And whatever it is, I want this, I get this. And then if I don't get this, I up the ante. So I didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize, so Norway, here I come. Okay. So you'll be okay in Europe. The problem with continental dictators is they aren't willing to make any meaningful sacrifices for each other.
Do you recognize Trump as a dictator?
He's a continentalist. So it's a question of if he wants unlimited executive power, that would define him as a dictator, if that's what he really wants. Apparently he said so, but I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. What he said lately, it changes, right? You don't know from one tweet to the next.
Russia is becoming China's vassal. What's the United States calculus for pulling them back?
But we're talking about an unstrategic administration. So you're asking me grand strategy.
But maybe but Trump has his own administration.
Yeah, but they've all got their fiefdoms and they're all doing their own thing. And they're apparently just trying to make sure they're in good graces with the golfer-in-chief. Having no strategy is not a strategy. It's a recipe for disaster.
True.
And they're delivering it up. It's foolish.
What would Russia actually need to defect?
The problem's not going to go away. We're in the second Cold War. It will last several generations. It's a long time. However, in the last Cold War, provided you weren't under Russian occupation, if you're living within the castle walls, you're living a perfectly decent life. There are two ways Russia could go down. One is if its army shatters. And that has happened. That happened, threatened to happen in the Russo-Japanese War, and it absolutely happened in World War I. Their army shattered and just wasn't interested in fighting anymore, and that was that. So that's one possibility. It doesn't seem to be happening. So, and no one knows when armies shatter. It's a mystery. You can't predict. Another possibility is when Putin dies, and there will definitely be regime change. So here's my advice to those of people who don't like Russia, don't like what Russia's doing. So you know how your newspapers write obituaries of famous people? They have it all prepared in advance. They know the guy's going to die, and that means the day the guy dies, all they have to do is add a few paragraphs, right? So you need to have a plan for how you're going to deal with Russia and China the day their leaders go. Have it all written up. For Xi Jinping, for any dictator you don't like, have a nice little plan. And militaries are known for doing this. They have what are called war plans against any number of belligerents. But have one for the day the dictator goes and have it all worked out. And then when the time comes, you'll be more ready than without one.
What if Europe won't buy Russia energy anyway? Could it change something?
Russia offers nothing but energy. So yeah, and then when Europe doesn't buy it, so the fields that Europe's not buying from, it would have to reorient them to China, which apparently is difficult. The reason those fields sell to Europe is because that's the best, logistically, that's the best way to do it.
Who loses more from a United States-Russia grand bargain? between China and Europe?
I don't see a U.S. It's too transactional. There's no grand bargain with the United States and Russia. There's no honor among thieves, right? If you're talking about a dictator's deal, once the dictators are gone, even while the dictators are there, it's just transactional. Are dictators gaining force? Their economies aren't actually doing very well. If you look at it and go, Russia's economy is a mess. China's economy is no longer doing as well as it used to by a long shot. In fact, China's economic miracle occurred when it joined the Maritime Party and it cooperated with the Maritime Order, and that's when you get the double-digit growth rates, but that's over. And the longer Xi Jinping doubles down on his 24/7 surveillance state, which is really expensive, by the way. He's putting cameras everywhere, even in classrooms. So if your kid's in the classroom and looks at the teacher and rolls their eyes, that goes into the kids, the family's social security social security meeting, whether you constitute a security threat for the government. Anyway, it's a phenomenal waste of resources, but it's all about the Communist Party staying in power. Iran's economy definitely is not doing well right now, right? How many people have to move out of their capital city because they don't have any water? That speaks to incredible mismanagement. This is the problem with dictators. They mismanage economies.
Can the censor hold?
It can. The question is will. And your generation had better do everything within its power to make sure it does. I'm going to age out of this. However it ends, I've already lived my life. I've done all the fun things. Right? I've retired, had wonderful children.
Because you look like a happy person, I think. That's why
I'm a believer. I'm a believer in my fellow human beings. And that's why I'm hitting the lecture circuit. I wish I could have provided more concepts, and then instead of me blobbing blah, blah, blah on what my predictions are, because who knows? I think the concepts are more helpful so that people can form their own decisions. But yeah, there have been many great generations. The greatest generation in the West is really this World War I conscript generation that became the strategic leaders, particularly after World War II. And it applies to Axis and allies. You think about the Adenauer and people rebuilding Germany, or the post-World War II generation in Japan that turned that whole thing around. So you're facing a crisis while your elders have made a real mess of things, and you will think of better approaches.
I will do what is my best.
Yeah, well, isn't that what you're doing? Is you're trying to interview interesting people to get their take on things and to help other people make informed judgments by having more data available.
In that chaos.
Go for it.
How do you feel as an extremely popular historian?
How do I feel?
How do you feel?
I don't understand, but that's okay. I had a very nice person a little younger than you, early 20s, who wanted to do a podcast. And I said, sure, okay, I'll do a podcast because I believe in helping the young, and not many people were asking me to do podcasts. And he had enough money so that when I was in sabbatical in England, had a wonderful year in Britain where I got old lady white privilege. Everyone was nice to me. And so he does this 2.5-hour interview rather like this, lots and lots of questions. And I just keep answering the questions because, hey, I'm devoted to the next generation. It's about sharing and education. And he looked pleased at the end of it and said, I said, cheers, see ya. And then that was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months later, I get my son who's calling me. He says, Mom, a friend of mine says you've gone viral. I'm like, what are you talking about? And for some reason, it resonates. But what I am is I'm just an old professor. I studied Russia and China my entire life. I'm not an academic fraud, and there are many professors who are academic frauds. I don't know why they want to be professors. It's not a very good profession, and they just want to BS around and not actually do the research. What did I do? I spent a long time. I would spend lots of time correcting papers. I read them all. I edited each line to show people how to write better. I don't know that all of them appreciated it or thought I was being obnoxious. I was doing my best. And I developed these lectures, which are not, they're based on years of research. I published, and my vacations and weekends were spent doing all of this research. And so my life was divided between raising kids and then my job. So there wasn't like a lot of extracurricular stuff going on. And so it's about sharing and education is what I'm up to. And also when working for the U.S. Navy, my student body is really diverse. People think of diversity in terms of ethnicity, but it's not diversity in educational backgrounds. Some of them have online degrees, which means not much education at all. It's because their family didn't have money, so they're doing the best they can. And then other ones will be like doctors, right? Or they'll be engineers. Many of them are engineers. Loads of them are engineers, so they're really good at physics and things. And so I have to give a lecture that I don't lose people who are trying really hard, but just they have never had a really good college education, to other people who have a PhD in the subject. And so it involves going at quite a rapid pace and a bunch of slides and other things. But also, the older I've gotten, is the more important I believe the concepts are that I've learned. My career serendipitously, I wind up working for the Navy, and it turns out I'm an expert in 2 continental empires, Russia and China, and then all of a sudden I'm doing this naval stuff. But it's developing these concepts for how you understand them. In my case, I studied Russia and China deliberately not to study the United States, because I thought, look, I'm an American. I want to study something where I don't have any vested anything. I don't, as far as I know, have any Russian ancestors or Chinese. And so I'm just going to study it and learn about our Japanese. But I think human beings, as an old person, what I found important in my life, I share it with you. I think my 2 key values are honesty. So I'm giving you the best things as I see it. It doesn't mean I'm right, but I'm being honest about this is why I believe, and I try to provide you the reasons why. And also being kind. And that sometimes the 2 run at cross purposes. But I think if you do that over a lifetime, if you try to be kind to people, like, what do you mean? What's the point? We're on this planet for such a short time. It's such a beautiful planet. Coming in here in this snowy morning, I came in through the Boston State House.
Today, Boston looks beautiful,
It
right?
was magical. All the dirt covered up. Well, I'm looking at the State House where the American Revolution was, taking pictures for my kids and things. things, that it's a beautiful world. And then at the end of your life, then you aren't an angry, nasty person because you've done the best you could by other people. And you've done a career that you found interesting. And what every generation should do, that's what I'm at the stage I'm at now, is passing the baton. I have a certain number of prepared lectures. I'm trying to get them podcasted, unpaywalled, and I pass the baton to others. And they decide what's useful and what's not. And I've tried to give a lot of concepts. I think this tactical, operational, and strategic is really important for understanding the non-strategic thinking going on in both political parties, and particularly the Republican Party right now.
If you could find answer for one question about policymakers, reality around what it would be.
Well, I don't. This is on very short notice that you're asking me this. I think for each country, the problems that you're most able to solve are the ones at home. So you should definitely solve those. You shouldn't ignore national security. You got to pay attention to, or you'll be game over. But you need to solve domestic problems. And the United States has been fooling around. What I wish some bright Americans your age-ish would go and read the tax code in great detail and figure out what on earth is going on, because tax codes allocate money. Who gets money? Who doesn't get money? Who gets no tax deals? Who has to pay everything? It has to do with the allocation of resources in society. And it just feels like there are a big heist going on, or a big grift, where those who are, like, I look at it, 3 people owning half the wealth of over 50% of the United States, and you look at their age and realize they've done it in the last 10 or 15 years. How is that possible? Something's up. And so I suspect what is going on is whoever's in on the heist or the grift wants us all squabbling about who qualifies for the girls' swim team, or who gets into the girls' bathroom and who doesn't, or whom we can throw out as immigrants and how brutally we can do it, and how brutally we can do it and get away with it, or or gunboat stuff with Venezuela. Instead of, I wonder if the real issue, in order to make America great again, is to look at our tax code and clean her up and allocate cash appropriately and make those people who pay money should pay money. And for the billionaire class, if the world order goes down, they will be the first people to go down with it. And they should watch as the billionaires fly out of windows in Russia. That's how it goes. Because think about it. Business people control money. Politicians control power. And when you have a dictatorship, all the power is going to go with the politicians, and the commercial elites will go out flying out of windows. And you think about in these world wars, how they have fared over the losing sides. Not well. They're so much better with a rules-based world order where they'll remain billionaires. But they need to allow other people on the bottom also to make some money. We all have agency. All of us can do something. Have you listened to Jane Goodall's final words? Jane Goodall is the expert in primates. She was British. You go Google it. Jane Goodall, final words. And so she has this really improbable life where she goes into the heart of Africa and she's studying monkeys and makes brilliant contributions and has been a transformative, as far as one human being, person. And she's a lesson to us all. And she says it in her final words. That's spoiler alert. Each one of us can make a difference. We can all do it in different ways. And in different times in your career, you can do it in different ways. So I'm apparently now a public intellectual. Never figured that was what was going to happen to me, but that's my contribution. You can do different things. So at a different age, you have to make sure you don't get fired, particularly if you have children, and you need to get the hostages out of the house and do those things. But there are other things you can do, like not be mean to people for openers. You can also, one of the easiest things that everyone can do for other people, it makes things a little better, is if you notice someone who's done something that's wonderful, tell them. It costs you nothing, and it'll make them feel better.
Yeah,
right?
guys.
Recognizing what other people do,
nice
and they're important.
to me.
And that can be transformative of getting rid of this really sour atmosphere. But all of us, the totality, I'm going to go back to Carl Deutsch. There are many more wonderful people on this planet than there are the psychopaths that you're worrying about. And worrying about, I wonder if you get someone, an anthropologist or someone, study dictators and psychopaths, and I bet you will find a much higher percentage of dictators are psychopaths than non-dictators. Probably because if you have no scruples, that may be one of the ways where you would even want to be a dictator in the first place. But most people aren't like that. So if all of us get our acts together, vote, and work on it, and try to bring out the best in each other.
It's not even blue yet.
It will work out better.
Well, it can't
you very
be,
much for
because
your
I might
time,
have to get new lightener.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Apparently, it's not even working.
New lightener?
Yeah, apparently the bleach isn't like lightening it at all.
What kind of bleach did you use?
She had 20.
Yeah, 20, bro? Don't you have brown hair?
Yeah, she thought 20 would do it, but we might have to get like 30 or something.
I had 40.
Okay, 40 apparently is how you get your hair up.
I actually don't remember. What did I use? It's called producer, right? Is that what you call it?
I don't know.
Like producer 20 or 40, or am I making this up, or what's
I think
it called?
that might be it.
Hold on.
Producer? No, producer's the name. So we'll see. We're going to leave it in for like an hour or two, and then we'll see how light it's got.
Oh, developer, that's what it is.
Yeah, developer, yeah.
How long has it been in?
When did I leave? I don't know. It's been in like 60 or 70 minutes.
Oh! Whoa! Wow, 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 wow. That's freaking epic, bro.
Oh, it's getting warm. All right, we'll see.
What? How long ago did anybody remember when I dyed my hair?
Like 2 years ago, right?
What? Wasn't it like 5 years ago?
Holy shit, where's the time gone, man? Holy shit, I was gone for a while, huh? Sheesh.
Wait, somebody said 4 years ago? 3 years ago? I'm trying to think if somebody used the term developer. Who dyed my hair? Who remembers this?
I thought you got it done at a salon. Did a lady come do it?
No, dude in a hotel room did it.
A dude?
A dude.
Really? Is Hasan going to go on this cruise? Because if he's going, we're going.
Cruise?
Yeah, that's what he's looking at. The Northern Lion cruise right now. That way, I mean, he'll have to debate you because of the implication, right?
Okay. I never understood why you dyed your hair. It was a donation goal. Okay. What's going on in the battlefield that is the Pod Save America subreddit? Oh boy.
Jesus Christ, that slop. A 2-day cruise is lame. A 2-day cruise is pretty lame. 3
Can't
days
wait
is minimum.
Can't wait to see how many people here will willfully lie about this guy, even as he clearly lays out his worldview in this conversation. Ah, yes. So
He's lying.
Is Reddit too much for my computer to run? I can't do it. Browser, dude.
2K for 2 days? It better have a free drink package with that price.
I'm glad Piker is out there because there aren't enough leftists in the social media space. Oh my God. I listened to the entire conversation because I wanted to see what he's about. He talks clearly and quickly and has great bullet points and buzzwords to sound authoritative. As Kyle P. pointed out when he quickly and efficiently debunked all of the out-of-context quotes, it's a question of math, and it's not really that hard to see how many fewer people Hamas has killed. I hate to even say this. This is just deeply unserious. You will never, in your entire life of any kind of historical study, genocide study, war crime study, you will never, ever, 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 ever see somebody simply measure the morality of a particular action by only looking at, like, number of deaths. It is the crudest, most retarded possible low IQ way of ever analyzing the morality of any particular action. It's just like in lives cost. It's so stupid. I listen to Hasan and PSA. I more agree with Hasan, but I feel I can exist in both spaces. I want a party where these are the kind of debates we're having ideologically. Excuse me? What was the debate
What
here?
debate was there?
What?
It was the Pod Save America guy running interference for Hasan.
Here thinks Hasan as well. Engages with the anger of the left and of the youth. He's seen as a bro-style streamer. No, he's not. He has, what? Just because he looks that way doesn't mean that he is. He has zero penetration into like the manosphere or any of those style podcasts. He's absolutely not seen as one of these types of people ever. Like, it's just a weird, like they just see him and they assume that he must be, I guess in that atmosphere or whatever, in that world.
Bill Dozer says he debated Andrew Tate though. Question mark, question mark, question mark.
Based.
You can just escort him out.
Hasan is the alt-left pipeline we need right now. Holy shit. True. This is such a brain dead. Dude, I hate the... I'm open to people like Hasan, but in this day and age, when you have a platform, it's not funny or cute to input to your listeners that if the next election were between Vance and Newsom, that you'd vote third party. That rhetoric with Kamala's chances in Michigan and helped elect Trump again. He can laugh it off because he's in California and his POTUS vote doesn't matter, but votes matter in other places. A vote for anyone other than the leading Democrat is a vote for the fascist regime and the tech oligarchy that Vance represents. Then this guy goes, if you'll vote for any Democrat and Hasan will only vote for a sufficiently populist progressive, why don't you vote for whoever Hasan is voting for? Why is it always someone else that needs to change their vote and not you? First of all, most people would vote for whoever the progressive is. Number one, so it's already retarded, okay? Number two, the problem is that Hasan and these people support candidates that just aren't really that popular. The candidates that they want can't really win.
Yeah, but Israel.
True. Jeez. Oh, some of these people are getting it, though. I wonder if Hasan linked this subreddit thread. John laid out a 10,000-foot ladder to let Hasan try to distance himself from I prefer Hamas over Israel, and he refused to budge. I don't need this guy around. I can criticize Israel just fine without pretending like that terrorist organizations are somehow preferable. You want to talk about people captured by what they're afraid to say and who they're afraid to piss off? He's mortified of having to confront the blowback from admitting he has said some head-ass shit. Having a principled stance on anti-colonialism/imperialism, buzzwords. By the way, shortcut, you're going to ignore anything somebody has to say about literally any topic if they use words like colonialism and imperialism. Almost always going to be the most retarded shit you've ever seen in your entire life. True, these guys get it. I'm a lesser evil voter, so I would vote for Hamas every single time. That's it. He actually said that in this video and there was zero pushback. I'm glad that pod people are noticing. Jesus. Yep, he's willing to be a lesser evil voter for Hamas over Israel, but not Kamala over Trump, because the latter is just a bridge too far, apparently, just simply built. This is my point. This is like insane. That like you can be, first of all, he's constantly said he's opposed to lesser evil voting, but when it comes to Hamas, he'll gladly jump on board with it. And it's like, how can you do all of the mental calculations necessary to support Hamas over Israel, but not Kamala over Trump? What? Sub suddenly swarming with Hasan fans, not suspicious at all. Buddy, many of us were on the PSA to Hasan/MR pipeline, Pod Save America. We still follow Pod Save America, waiting for them to take steps in the right direction. This was a good one. Now, does this mean I forgive them for hiding Biden's senility and therefore rat-ing us in 2024? No, they proved to be political hacks then. It'll take quite a bit more to regain my respect, but I will still follow and listen when they engage with meaningful topics. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Steps in the right direction, like endlessly simping for China and Russia, supporting terrorism. Simping for China It is not only morally correct, but also politically correct to praise and learn from the good outcomes of other economic and financial systems. Hasan does this because China is kicking our ass at functionally every aspect of good governance. We don't even have a moral high ground on the surveillance state aspect anymore, with Flock and ICE running amok. And Russia. Hasan has already addressed this regarding his Crimea invasion versus Ukraine invasion commentary. He has opposed the 2022 invasion repeatedly, but because he acknowledged that Crimea was majority Russian in 2014, people say he simps for Russia. Nowadays, he readily acknowledges that Putin is expansionist while also criticizing NATO for expanding all the way to Russia's borders. Jesus Christ.
Really, you have nothing to say about that?
Just how much I want to bang yo mama.
You gonna read the Hasan Puff piece?
I know what this whole article is going to be about. It's going to be that like, guys, we have to have spirited debate amongst everybody. Okay. After the 2024 elections, there was a panic among Democrats about the absence of a liberal Joe Rogan. Could one be found? Wait, sorry, let me read this in the Ezra Klein voice. Could one be created? It was an epic exercise in missing the point. You cannot have a liberal Joe Rogan because Rogan is not particularly political. His audience cohered around conversations with comedians, MMA fighters, bodybuilders, and psychonauts. That's what made him politically influential. He could reach millions of people who were not otherwise interested in politics. True. The problem Democrats actually had, one of them anyway, was that they didn't like Rogan and criticized others for going on his show. Well, this was after Rogan became like a massive kind of like right-wing sellout, I think. No? That was my perception, but they tried repeatedly to cancel him for his comments about trans people and his skepticism of COVID vaccines. To the extent that he is now a right-coded figure, it's not because he started that way. Rogan's political views are mixed. His stuff about COVID and everything else was retarded. I don't know about the trans people thing. That might be true, but I don't know. Rogan's political views are mixed. He backed Bernie Sanders in 2020. He supports universal health care and abortion rights. He dislikes vaccine mandates and lacks border control. All of these are just populist viewpoints. These aren't like super mixed, unless you're just like still trapped in the neocon versus Democrat world of like the early 2000s, but okay. But it shouldn't have been a surprise when, after years of being attacked by the left, he endorsed Donald Trump in 2024. The simplest way to tell people which side they're on is to tell them how much your side hates them. Was anybody surprised when Joe Rogan endorsed Trump? Was there a single person who was surprised about that? Who was surprised? That brings me to a more important than it might look controversy that has burst out over the leftist streamer Hasan Piker. He had a breakout moment of the past year as Democrats began obsessing over the absence of a liberal Joe Rogan, and Piker, who mixes leftist politics with a bro-ish aesthetic, was proffered as a possible answer. A category error because, again, the whole point of Rogan's political power is that his show mostly avoids politics. But pick over Piker's years of streaming, and you can find offensive things he said. Among them, that America deserved 9/11, that his favorite flag is Hezbollah's, and that a liberal Zionist is akin to a liberal Nazi. Streamer has said offensive things. Isn't really a news story. Can I get a picture of Hasan in a bathtub at least? Can we get I need like a photo shoot or something, please. Thank you. Oh God, yes. Oh Jesus, yes. Okay, there we go. Let's get some real Hasan coverage going on over here. Can I slideshow these? God. Okay, let's go with this one here. Our psychosexual obsession continues. Streamer has said offensive things. Isn't really a news story. But then, Abdul al-Sayed, the more DSA-ish candidate in the Democratic Senate primary in Michigan, began rallying with Piker. That led Third Way, a centrist group that previously demanded the Democrats draw a line in the sand and shun Hasan Piker and his fellow Jew haters, to send a letter to al-Sayed demanding details about how closely you align with his most abhorrent views. Jonathan Greenblatt, the head of the Anti-Defamation League, said Piker reflected the dangerous normalization of anti-Semitism in our politics. Politico then asked a number of possible 2028 Democratic hopefuls whether they would appear on Piker's show. Governor Gavin Newsom and Rahm Emanuel said they would. Ro Khanna and AOC already had. Cory Booker, Ruben Gallego, and Alyssa Slotkin said they wouldn't. Oh, thank you. True, we need this one. Thank you. I think there's rather a lot wrapped up in this controversy, so let's take it piece by piece. Is Piker a Jew hater, as Third Way alleges? In an interview with the writer Aaron Rugenberg, Piker addressed some of his worst comments. I find some of his answers compelling, and others less so. The comparison of liberal Zionists to Nazis, for instance, is repugnant, and not much improved by Piker clarifying that he opposes ethnostates. What made the Nazis notable wasn't their support for an ethnostate. Ethnostates are common. What made the Nazis notable was their effort to exterminate the Jewish people. And Piker's assertion that his opposition is to all reactionary ideology is hard to square with his admiration for Hezbollah. Okay, the Nazis, did a lot of bad shit. The killing Jewish people wasn't the only bad thing they did. They also tried to conquer all of Europe. Okay, I don't know if we forget that sometimes, but that was happening too. Okay, they also killed a ton of Soviets as well. There were a lot of people that they tried to exterminate. It wasn't just Jewish people, but thank you, Ezra. but okay. But to focus only on those comments is to miss much else that Piker has said and believes. He has also said, from pogroms to the Holocaust, Jews have always been singled out by those in power as a scapegoat for the instability and economic volatility that people in power caused. A resilient as an anti-Semitism is a constant threat. He has called anti-Semitism gross, immoral, and a hate crime. He has promoted John Ossoff, a Democratic senator from Georgia who is Jewish, as a 2028 presidential possibility. In previous presidential primaries, Piker supported Bernie Sanders, who is also Jewish. It is an unusual form of Jew hatred that calls out anti-Semitism and promotes Jewish Americans for the presidency. I have deep disagreements with Piker, but he isn't a Jew hater. He's an anti-Zionist. And here I think the real stakes of this fight come into view. We are living through a rupture in both the meaning and the reality of Israel. A Gallup poll from February found for the first time that more Americans sympathize with the Palestinians than with the Israelis. Among Democrats, the gap was overwhelming, with 65% who sympathize more with the Palestinians and 17% with the Israelis. The difference, as I've argued, is largely generational. Older Americans still view the Israelis more sympathetically, but among Americans ages 18 to 34, 53% sided with the Palestinians and 23% with the Israelis. This is new. Before 2023, young people and Democrats are more likely to side with the Israelis. This is not the result of an international psyop or a profusion of memes. The Israel that young people know is not the Israel that older people remember. It responded to the savagery of October 7th by flattening Gaza in a brutal campaign that killed at least 70,000 Gazans, taking control of more than half the territory and herding Gazans, more than 2 million people, into the remainder. Life there remains hellish. Israel has made hopes for a two-state solution fanciful by slicing the West Bank up into Israeli settlements and abetting constant settler violence and keeping a boot on the throat of the Palestinian Authority. Keep in mind, Palestinians also hate the two-state solution, and Palestinians also hate the Palestinian Authority, as well as all of the pro-Pallies in the West, but okay. It has used the Iran war as an opportunity to launch an invasion of Lebanon, displacing more than 1 million people and announcing that as many as 600,000 won't be allowed to return to their homes until Israel decides otherwise. The Knesset just voted to legalize hanging as a punishment for Palestinians who are convicted of killing Israelis in terrorist attacks. Third Way suggests you can identify Jew haters by their use of loaded words taught in social justice seminars: apartheid, genocide, settler colonialism. If that is the test, then a large number of American Jews now fail it. Israel, as it is behaving today, and as it is constructing itself for tomorrow, is incompatible with any normal understanding of liberal values. The settler colonialism should always make you raise your eyebrows. The other two, also typo in this article, there should be a closing single quote here. Apartheid and genocide, maybe not as much, but the settler colonialism one is a huge eyebrow raiser. But okay. There will be no Palestinian state to the west of the Jordan River, Benjamin Netanyahu has said. For years, I prevented the creation of that terror state against tremendous pressure, both domestic and from abroad. We have done this with determination and with astute statesmanship. Moreover, we have doubled the Jewish settlement in Judea and Samaria, and we will continue on this path. Anti-Zionism is rising as a response to what Israel is doing. It will simply not be possible to treat it as a marginal viewpoint that can be shamed or shunned into invisibility. Yes, anti-Semitism often cloaks itself in anti-Zionism, so don't do the anti-Semites work for them. If you keep telling people that if they oppose the Jewish state, then they must hate the Jewish people, eventually they will believe you. True. All the anti-Semitic stuff has been created by people who are trying to call out. True. Good one, Ezra. Yes. The impulse to cut off those with whom we disagree reaches far beyond Piker or the Israel-Palestinian debate. It sits at the heart of cancellation as a political tactic. It relies on a belief in the power of gatekeepers that might have been true in an earlier age, but no longer reflects the way attention is earned and held. Wrong. You don't understand the environment today whatsoever. What are you talking about? Cancellation is like the number one tool that these crazy pro-Pally try to engage in. Every single time they perceive somebody as being even remotely on Israel's side or not to the maximal pro-Pally position, they try to cancel the out of you. They literally try to get you, they spam your shit, they try to get you deplatformed, they try to say that you can't run for races or that you gotta resign, or they try to bully you on shows, or this is all they do is try to bully you or corral you into their singular view of what it means to be pro-Palestinian or whatever. Tucker Carlson was ejected from Fox News and grew stronger on X and YouTube. Fuentes was banned from major social media platforms and gathered strength in the shadows. Trump went from being banned by every major social media platform to retaking the presidency. I feel like people just don't understand. I feel like living on the internet, people just don't understand how these platforms work or anything. When you talk about canceling somebody, the question is whether or not you can remove them from a platform or not. Okay, not whether or not you can make them look bad. If you remove somebody from a platform, you have severely harmed their position. And to deny that is to just misunderstand everything. Okay, so Tucker Carlson was probably the most popular news host on the planet. He still has a lot of sway. He's got a popular podcast and everything else, sure. But him leaving Fox was a huge downgrade for him and the reach that he has in his podcast. It was a huge step down for him. Same thing with Fuentes. Fuentes could be far more influential. If he had a YouTube channel with 1 million subscribers or was popular on all the social media platforms, he would be way, way, way more popular. And then same thing, Trump never really lost his popularity either. Trump just never really lost his popularity that much. Although he did for a bit. There was a year or two after the election where once he was banned from everything, people were kind of sort of moving on, but then he kind kind of came back. But this idea that like getting banned from these platforms like doesn't hurt you at all or doesn't impact you at all, it's just not true. Nick blew up since being replatformed indirectly on Reels, TikTok, Kick. I mean, a little bit, it helped. The funny Reels and stuff helps, but like him not having a huge YouTube channel or having like huge streams on like mainstream platforms like that, it hurts a ton. It's not just that cancellation has failed to silence those it targeted, it also weakened those who used it. The Democratic Party and the progressive movement was ill-served by the belief that it could decide the boundaries of acceptable debate. In narrowing who it could talk to, it limited what it could hear and whom it could be heard by. This is kind of true. I haven't been on Rogan's show, but I've been on some of the shows in that broader universe, like Andrew Schultz's Flagrant and Lex Friedman's podcast. I was surprised by how frustrated the hosts were about their inability to book Democrats in 2024. They had said things that the broader progressive universe disliked, or had conversations with people who were anathema to the left, and so Democrats largely avoided these podcasts, ceding them to the Trump campaign. I think that when you're in power and you want to block people from platforms like this, it is an effective tool. The reason why these people were mad is because the Democrats or the progressive or the left-wing whatever ideology was largely like the more culturally dominant force. But now look at the flip side. Joe Rogan is the one who won't bring on Gavin Newsom. It's the people on the right who won't platform the people on the left, right? This was not only bad politics, but also bad democratic practice. These shows had come from nowhere and had gained millions of loyal listeners. They had earned their viewerships by voicing something that made millions of Americans feel seen, heard, or at least interested. In avoiding those spaces, Democrats avoided contact with the kinds of voters they otherwise claimed to represent. This is the mistake Democrats often make when they talk about what they did wrong in 2024. They realize now that they should try to talk to the people who listen to these shows. They are less likely to realize that they should listen to the people who talk on these shows. Beneath this is an important principle. Conversation is not a reward to be bestowed on those with whom we agree. It's a necessary habit in a democracy. This is how conservatives use it right now, though, but okay. The point is not to find agreement as much as to deepen understanding. To talk with others is to believe in the possibility of change, theirs and your own. Whether you like everything that someone has said should be severed from the question of whether that person is worth talking to. I also I do agree like broadly with this, but the problem too is like, what kind of conversations are you having? This is my issue where they're like, oh, what? You don't want this person to talk to, XYZ political figure? It's like, you can talk to them, but the question is like, is this like a confrontational conversation where you guys are like hammering out ideological differences, or is this just a simp fest where both of you are jerking each other off and then sane washing like each other, like the most abhorrent views that the other person has? The space for such conversations was once wider. In 1968, William F. Buckley Jr., the arch conservative founder of National Review, hosted Eldridge Cleaver, the Minister of Information for the Black Panthers, on firing line. Neither man was there to endorse the other's politics. I should like to begin by asking Mr. Cleaver whether he finds it consistent with his ideology to encourage the assassination of Mr. Richard Nixon, Buckley said. Cleaver's answer: I would say that if Richard Nixon was assassinated, it would only result in having another pig in line who possibly would need to be assassinated. Buckley later hosted Cleaver at his home. It was a different time, but it created a lasting artifact. The interview has hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube, and it remains riveting to watch. Are there people I won't have on my show, or shows I won't go on? Sure, but those judgments for me are more about what I think will be productive, rather than who I think can be included. Similarly, I wouldn't judge Booker or Gallego, or Slotkin for avoiding Piker's show. They're busy people, and it may not be how they want to spend their time, but there's something strange about aspiring to lead the country's left-wing coalition and elevating the avoidance of prominent leftists to a matter of principle. That's all the more true now, as attention isn't bestowed on the chosen few by television networks and newspaper editors. It's won or lost in a ferocious marketplace that rewards outrage and controversy. The winners of the attention wars today are typically people who said some outrageous things in the past, or are still saying them in the present. When you're dealing with podcasters or streamers who talk, unstructured and unrehearsed, for hours each week, if not every day, there's going to be so much said that it's almost inevitable that a dossier of dumb statements can be compiled. To write those people out of acceptable political discourse is to back yourself into a shrinking, sanitized corner of the public sphere. It's not just edgy, epic statements or whatever. Holy shit. There is actually zero chance Destiny has any Hispanic blood in him if you can't pronounce Gallego. Jesus Christ. I don't know if it's a Spanish word. I don't know the person's name. Gallego? Is that what you want? Jesus. Suck my dick, mother. I'm going to come in your mom tonight just for you saying that. Good luck. When you're dealing with podcasters, where are we at? Oh, yeah. So just edgy statements. Booker admitted on Pod Save America that when he had said he would never go on Piker's show, he had never heard of Piker. His communications director had read him a list of the 4 or 5 worst things Piker had said, and Booker had used that as the basis for his response. Booker got piled on for that admission, but I appreciate the honesty. That is, in practice, a version of how many of us make our judgments. Algorithmic media is an engine of motivated decontextualization. We see other people in snippets that serve the agendas of those who cut them. We are fed 30-second clips shortened from multi-hour streams, 2-sentence quotes ripped from long conversations, old comments that obscure subsequent change. We have to be careful about being lulled into believing this is a waste of time. article. Okay, I'm good. Can you explain why the settler colonialism thing should raise eyebrows? Because when people use the settler colonialist argument, they're trying to say that Israel is a colony of the West, that Israelis are all people that aren't related to the Middle East or to the lands or whatever of Israel, and they all need to go back to Europe or the United States. Hemomol denies wanting to get back with Sykkuno while clarifying the timeline of events. Oh, we already went over that. Here's a funny clip about Hasan talking about Ezra.
Contrary to what Ezra Klein claimed, which again, Ezra Klein,
3 months ago.
What the f- are you doing, man? Jesus Christ. Like, he finds himself always on the wrong side of every argument, like professionally. It's crazy to me. But yeah, everybody hates her, and, you know, mostly for good reason. And these guys love yapping, okay? If you know anything about media figures, they love talking to one another, okay? They're gossip. Maybe that's the reason why they found themselves in this field. Given Barry Weiss's tendency to things up because she's just awful at her job, I mean, it's a really horrible media environment for her. She is just going to get constantly daggered over and over and over again from respected reporters all the way down to the biggest careerists who are somewhat jealous that they didn't suck the right dicks, right? They sucked the wrong ones. Lower level dicks on Dick Suck Mountain.
Or not, the piece actually airs in the future, and editor-in-chief Barry Weiss.
All right, what's going on with Xena?
I think this shit's a joke. I will get bitched at over the Quran or things that I say, but y'all sit there and try to make a joke out of a religion I grew up with.
Wait, is that Xena right there? Or what? Or wait, what's happening?
My grandmother did this.
Why is he
My
listening?
grandmother before that nigga's looking at
No.
TikTok, talking about TikTok videos and love spells and bottles. That's not
Wait.
what the any of this is. He doesn't even know
Why?
what gender he is. The is a retard, and you just got scammed out of your money because he doesn't even know what any of the metaphysics of this shit is at all. Oh, I'm a practicing practitioner. Oh, I need to get my license. You don't get your license in any goddamn religion, study spirituality, or any practices at all. He sounds like a cuck-ass retarded who needs to know what gender he is before he fucking clowns on a religion and does a dumbass, bogus-ass ritual with some Palo Santo. Ain't none of that shit real. None of that shit is real, and you know it too. You had more education about intentions and attraction of energy than this ass idiot. I'm sick. I literally had to close out the phone stream because I got so upset.
Wait. Oh, okay. Wait, is this Sneeko? She's talking about Sneeko. Wait, is that Sneeko? I just said I thought the Craigslist witchcraft bit was funny until an upset woman called in and completely lost it for 90 seconds. No? Who the fuck is she talking about? Who?
Because I got so upset, I started crying. Like, the shit is not a game. This isn't Harry Potter. You're not in Slytherin. You're not in Hogwarts. You're not in potions class. This is real life, and you're playing around.
Ice is doing witchcraft on stream and it pissed Xena off.
Say you're a fucking practicing practitioner for some money. If you knew anything about voodoo, witchcraft, or any sex or any practice, you would know that spirits.
Is this a meme or not? Or
be fucking charged with material money gain or be on camera. You idiot.
That's why
okay, Queen. Wait, we have a new Kaya cam?
The Trumpian mind cannot be comprehended, okay? He is Mr. Eco-terrorism. It turns out some of y'all have only watched
Wait, it's cinema.
movies about how to blow up a pipeline. Trump is quite literally doing that, okay? So who's the real woker now? Oh, bitch. Donald Trump is forcibly creating an environment for that renewable energy transition for every country. Respect. Put some respect on his name. He is the...
I like how he's got this bright ass light shine right into the dog too, just to make sure that they're visible on camera. Jesus.
Oftentimes talk about justice. It's almost like a catch-all term. Hamas is only one component of the Palestinian resistance. The Al-Aqsa flood was actually conducted not only by Hamas, but Palestinian Islamic Jihad's own militant forces, PFLP, DFLP, and numerous other, even including Fatah militias as well that still existed in Gaza. So this was a military operation initially that was Couldn't you say that October 7 had a positive effect on the world's view Israel is hated now? No, he didn't ask me that question. And also, I wouldn't say that regardless. He asked me on Palestinians. I mean, Palestinians were genocided in the aftermath of October 7. This is me taking the long road in a way that is more palatable to liberals to help them identify that, you know, genocide is unjustifiable against the Palestinians regardless of October 7. And not only that, but also things weren't fine for the Palestinians pre-October 7, which is exactly what led to October 7. Okay? I am explaining things to a liberal audience as to why Palestinians resist. Okay?
Good job, brother.
Posted on our IG channel, broadcast, and asked people to drop questions for appearance. And of course, Ethan Klein cultists shared it on their sub, and they completely brigaded it with a bunch of questions about Kaya, about being pro-rape, helping Trump win, etc. There's barely any normal questions. It's the only question thread with hundreds of comments. I hope you reach out to Z-Way and let her know what's going on. Thank you for informing me.
Don't worry, he's already poisoned the well, I promise.
Do that.
Do you think he's texting her right now, or is he texting Mamdani? We just watch. Face, okay, King.
I'm sure she's aware. Yeah. Genuine question. Shouldn't leftists or progressive Democrats then run on a just 2% platform in regards to how much we want to tax billionaires and deal with some of these issues? I mean, whichever way it works. Just another psychosexual stalker? How do you keep catching these dudes like Pokeballs?
Psychosexual stuff. Where does he get his new talking points from? Jesus.
Why does ContraPoints hate you so much? Is it just because you called out her bad Israel take she had? I'm not a fan of her, but she hates you for real. Yeah, she's just leaned into being
liberal,
total,
lived out.
defender of the Democratic Party, has like some
bring up the Hillary Clinton in her house thing or whatever.
Some right-wing points on that as well. She was quiet for the longest time on the issue of Israel, and then chose.
This is like the weirdest, like, culty thing I think that I ever hear Hasan or these like people talk about. It's like, I've noticed you've been quiet on. You remember for a while, Hasan and his friends were obsessed with tweeting out at somebody like, hey, I noticed you haven't said anything about Israel-Palestine lately. Why haven't you tweeted about it? It's like, bro, my God.
To speak out, very critical of the pro-Palestinian wing of the party. Literally, I think it was 2 days before there was this massive sea change because there was tremendous amounts of coverage about Israel doing a famine in Gaza. Like, it was unbelievable. 2 years in, she didn't speak about Israel at all. No peep. Her fans were constantly demanding she say something. Then she went out to Reddit, which is the most, at the time, the most pro-Israel platform that she could find, and released this massive statement. The statement itself was flawed.
The statement itself, I think, was basically, she might have even called it a genocide. Does anybody remember her statement? I think she did. I think she even capitulated and called it a genocide, but people still didn't think her statement was right enough because it criticized murders and rapes by Palestinians. Like, it's just these people. This is why none of these like Ezra, Kleins, all these people just have no idea like what they're up against. They have no clue what they're talking about. We just need to like, be nicer to them, guys. It's so crazy. Looking at all these guys go through the same stuff that I thought they'd learned about like the neo-Nazi types or whatever. It's like, guys, we just need to I don't even know what they're asking. We just need to have polite conversations with them and agree with every single thing they say so we can court them into, yeah.
I guess that's the, best, that's the nicest thing I can say about it, right? The statement itself was flawed, and it basically put the blame on the pro-Palestinian activists. And
this was the statement, by the way, that he's saying is super flawed and that everybody hated Natalie for, okay? I'm posting this to Reddit instead of Twitter. Illuminator, thank you for the 5 subs. What? Stop! Okay, wait for them to finish. Okay. So, many leftists feel betrayed because I haven't made a video on Palestine. Do they actually want a ContraPoints video about Palestine? Would they be happy if I get in the bath and pour milk on a mannequin of Benjamin Netanyahu? No. I posted about Gaza occasionally and have quietly given money to Palestinian aid organizations, but I think what leftists really want is for me to join their chorus of anger. They sense some hesitation on my part and are judging me very harshly on my presumed opinions. I'd rather be judged on my actual opinions, so here they are. Is Israel committing a genocide in Gaza? Yes. Do I oppose it? Yes. Do I feel angry about it? Yes. I also feel a lot of other things. Doom. The week after October 7th, it was clear the mood among Israeli leaders and civilians was overwhelmingly kill or be killed, existential panic, and unstoppable lust for revenge. It reminds me of the US after 9/11. There was no reasoning or protesting them out of it, nor was it politically feasible for the US to withdraw aid to Israel on a time frame that would make a difference. It would have required replacing most of Congress and overturning decades of bipartisan strategy and diplomacy. Even in the best case scenario, it would have taken years. So there was a sense of futility, but worse, misery. The leftist pro-Palestine movement quickly decided that their primary goal was not merely opposition to the genocide, but opposition to Zionism in general, that is, opposition to the existence of Israel as a Jewish state. And here they decided to draw the line, separating decent people from genocidal fascists, which had the following consequences. One, it shrunk the coalition. Zionist is a very broad category. Most Jews are Zionists. Anyone who supports a two-state solution is a Zionist. Two, it was politically infeasible. What is the pathway that takes us from the present situation to the dissolution of Israel as a Jewish state? I don't see how this could happen without either a total internal collapse of Israeli society or else, nuclear war. As usual, leftists have championed a doomed cause. And three, it introduced dangerous ambiguities. The vagueness of Zionism as a political Satan enables all kinds of rhetorical abuses. On the one hand, right-wing Israelis hold up all anti-Zionist protests as existentially threatening and inherently anti-Semitic. On the other hand, there's a long history of anti-Semites using the term Zionist in deliberately equivocal ways. Zog, etc. Anti-Semites are happy for the opportunity to misappropriate the now popular anti-Zionist label to legitimize their agenda. Many people are not informed enough about anti-Semitism to recognize when this is happening. These problems are mutually reinforcing. 3 is dead. The online left has spent the last 20 months distributing hundreds of photos and videos of dead Palestinian children. The main effect of this has been to create a population of people in a constant state of blood-boiling rage with no consequential political outlet. I fear this may be worse than useless. Anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism are conceptually not the same, and conflating them is dangerous, but in practice, the way Israel is perceived does seep out into attitudes towards Jews in general. I don't think Jews who feel isolated and wary in the current atmosphere are simply hysterical or hallucinating. Yes, there's communal trauma and hypervigilance. Yes, there's disingenuous right-wing ghouls dismissing and censoring all criticism of Israel on the pretext pretext of fighting anti-Semitism, but there's also a valid fear of historical anti-Semitic patterns reoccurring, and that fear gives power to the right-wing Zionist claim that only Israel can keep Jews safe. Does this mean Israel should not be criticized and sanctioned? Absolutely not, but it's something I don't want to risk contributing to if not outweighed by tangible benefits, so I approach the issue cautiously. For bitterness, much of the online left spent all of 2024 single-mindedly focused on Palestine and the complicity of democratic politicians in sending aid to Israel. The campaign had the following effects. 1. 0 Palestinian lives were saved. Not one fewer bomb or bullet was fired by the IDF. And 2. It may have slightly contributed to the re-election of Trump, guaranteeing that the U.S. will put no diplomatic pressure on Netanyahu for at least 4 years and making protests against Israel much riskier and less effective. Trump is also incidentally a menace to me and basically everyone I care about. A perfectly enlightened being would feel no bitterness about this, but I do. This is an interesting set of things to say. So there is, not only did the U.S. put no diplomatic pressure on Netanyahu, we have helped him now go to war with Iran twice, making protests against Israel much riskier. This happened. People who protest against Israel as immigrants or visa holders had their visas revoked. And then here, Trump is a threat to trans people. We're pretty sure they're going to roll back of like trans rights and laws and everything all across the U.S. You had this whole attack on DEI and the whole trans obsession and everything as well. So, interesting worries there. None of this is the fault of Palestinians, of course. We're overwhelmingly the victims here. I hope that someday American policy will shift in their favor, and I will continue to support their cause. That's the horrendous, terrible statement that she made.
And the advocates and the people that were dominated, people who were arrested for advancing this cause, for speaking truth to power, punished relentlessly for it, right? Basically said, oh, you're showing these atrocities. It's like, and it's, making people feel bad. And it also hurt the Democratic Party's chances of winning. It was this ridiculous statement. And the timing of it was so bad. The timing of it was so bad. Like, if she had just kept quiet, she probably would not have received so much backlash. But not only did she, come out with this ridiculous statement, she did it right before there was like unlimited coverage on Israel doing a famine in a way that was impossible to ignore. So I think, content creators like this, I myself am not, outside of this group either. Nobody likes to be yelled at. Nobody likes to be told that they're wrong, right? And she was inundated with unlimited statements about how wrong she was. That probably hardened her position. And she, for some weird reason, decided that I was like the primary critic of her statement, I think. It's an Ethan Klein thing where it's like, oh, it can't be my own statements being reflected on by my own community that I've cultivated, many of which are anti-Zionist and on the side of truth and justice here, on the side of the Palestinians, getting mad at me. It must be some outsider that's pushing them to criticize me. Not comparing Natalie to Ethan, please. It's true, though. I say this as someone who's collaborated with her, who's hung out with her, who was shocked by her position on the issue of Israel to begin with. Like, I was pretty open about it, and my commentary on her statement was much nicer, much nicer than many others. My expectation was that she would be the last person to do this because she's actually smart.
Can we get a quick court stop update? Your opposition to limine is up. It's basically, I'm pretty sure the opposition is just stating that you can't just oppose all the arguments that a person can make in court. You can't do that. A lot of these are like fundamental to the claims that are being made. So you gotta argue those in court.
It was genuinely a surprise